Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sunny. It's so wonderful to meet you if you're new, and if you're not, welcome back. And today, I have a super exciting stream because I have the beautiful, magical, amazing Madeleine Kate with me. Thank you so much for joining me today, Maddie. I'm so excited. I, I realized when we originally went live, I didn't update the stream info. So when we were in the waiting screen, I updated. I was like, "Come meet the amazing Maddie Kate," and changed everything. So we should be good to go. But anyway, hello to everyone. Hello to everyone who's watching right now. Hi, mom. My mom said hello, Maddie. She's already in. I'm sure she misses you. um, so we're gonna go ahead and just jump right on into all the awesome, possum questions, and hear your awesome story, Maddie. So to start off, you graduated from a small high school in Southern Indiana, and then went off to pursue your biggest dreams in Nashville. What inspired you to pursue music and to just go to Nashville and chase it? I love that.
A blind optimist, hopeless romantic type. So I feel like, oh, everything is going to work out how it's supposed to. And if you try, you'll get it. And I had this deep love for music. And my parents always harbored creativity too, which in that small town isn't exactly normal. But my mom is a
Feel that.
teacher, and my dad owns his own painting business. So they're both pretty creative in certain ways. And they kind of were like, yeah, like if you love music, do it, which that's very rare for people pursuing music
Really
for their
helpful.
parents. Yeah, and my grandparents have always, they act like I'm literally Taylor Swift. Like they're like, "Oh." And I'm like, "No, Grammy, like but thank you."
That's
And
awesome.
I listened to a lot of music too that was about moving to Nashville. Like I guess my first love of music was country music. I always joke that I have a country heart and a rock and roll spirit because country is not necessarily my favorite anymore, but
Yeah.
the storytelling and all about, small town life and
Yeah.
going to pursue your dreams really amped me up
Mhm.
to just go do it. And especially like Taylor Swift, who was country when I started liking her in 2006, which is insane.
I know. That's crazy.
And I had great teachers too that
Mhm.
pushed me, like Mr. Puckett, who was my band director and Sunny's band director
Yes.
from fifth grade for me through 11th grade. And then
Me through
you were a
sophomore
year
year.
younger. Yep. And then we had Mr. Ahern, and he thought it was cool that I wanted to do music. So he pushed me too. So that was a
Yeah.
big reason I just loved music, and I didn't know exactly where I fit into that industry,
Yeah.
but I knew I wanted to be in it. So I was like, picked out a college that really specializes in that in Nashville, and I was like, let's see what happens. If I hate it, I can always come home, but if I stay home, I'll always think, what if?
And I think that's so cool. I really appreciate authenticity and being courageous and bold enough to go for, those bigger dreams. And I think that's awesome. So, I guess your musical journey kind of falls in there, but like what has been your musical journey since you got to Nashville, and what was your music industry experience?
So I came to Nashville, and I went to this school called Belmont University, and it's small. It's like 8,000 students.
Oh wow, I didn't know it was that small.
Yeah, it's that small, and it it has a lot of things. It's known for its nursing program too, which I think is very odd because it's known for that and then it's known for music.
Yeah.
I actually majored in music business, and every time I came home and somebody asked me what's your major, and I said that, they literally went, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, I don't know.
So supportive. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's literally just business, but mixed with entertainment because it is a little bit different than a normal corporate scene.
Yeah.
And so I went to Belmont, and my first classes were like introduction to the music industry, like copyright law,
Very
all of this
important.
stuff. Yes, very important, and I'm happy. And then I also took some like classes that were based on production. I took some commercial voice classes that
Ooh.
were they were a lot of fun because it instead of like the classical voice, like we learned how to train our singing to be like radio style.
Like
And
poppier almost.
yeah, instead of like learning the traditional like these are the scales, it was like,
Yeah.
okay, how do you manipulate your voice to sound like a rock artist? How do you do it to sound pop?
I love that. That sounds
It was
awesome.
cool. It was a lot of fun. And I took like guitar classes and stuff like that. And then I'd have like random, like, oh, statistics and accounting, like
Yeah,
normal
throw
business
sprinkle
stuff.
in the business classes.
So I had that foundation. And at that point, when I went there, I was still writing poetry and not necessarily songs.
Yeah.
Um, I knew how to play the guitar and I had taught myself how to sing, and I loved writing poetry and I loved music, but I hadn't figured out how to put it all together yet.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel that.
which is it's interesting. But after I took my first guitar class at Belmont, I started to be able to sing and play at the same time.
Mhm.
Which, if you don't play instruments, that sounds insane, but it is a weird brain thing. Like you have to really be conscious. And
True.
after I learned how to do that, I'm like, I'm going to start writing songs. So the first one that I wrote that I actually liked, I wrote right before Christmas break my freshman year.
Oh, cool.
And that was called I Believe in Nashville. And
Oh,
that's on my
love that.
mixtape. And
Yes.
it's about that feeling of moving and pushing, even though you're scared shitless, for lack of a better term.
I
You're
understand the
like,
feeling.
you're freaked out. I knew nobody down here. I had never lived in a city. But being like, there's something here, and this city is a city out of my dreams, and it is magical, and everybody loves music here, and I've never been in such a creative place.
Mhm.
And then after that, I'd kind of dabbled in writing, but I hadn't liked anything else for a while
Yeah.
until my high school boyfriend and I ended up breaking up like the April of my freshman year of college.
Mhm.
And we had this very dramatic falling out.
We
Very
were talking
dramatic.
about it earlier, some.
Yeah, toxic. Just you did this, you did this. Neither one of us were willing to take accountability for the bad things that we did. And
Happens.
it happens. I was young, I was 19, and that breakup, I just couldn't stop writing. I
Yeah.
probably wrote 150 songs over that summer.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, girl.
they
Writing.
weren't, there's only a few I actually liked. That's what's funny about writing sometimes. Because I guess I was kind of planning on writing a project, but I wanted to actually get used to writing first. And
That's fair.
I wrote some scathing songs. I wrote some sad songs. I wrote a song about how great my life was and getting over it when I wasn't over it. I was crying in my bedroom
Oh,
writing
I
about it.
know the
But
pain.
then and that one's actually, I'm glad you didn't stay for anybody that's
Oh
ever
wow.
listened to it. But
Okay.
then all those things came true. Like, I guess I knew eventually they would. And so that breakup made me write. And then I was like, okay, I might have something. I might have some kind of cohesive story.
Yeah.
But I didn't want the entire thing to be about this breakup that was
Right.
dramatic in a small town. So it's
Right.
like, let me hold off. Well, when you ask, the universe answers, and it made me have a very dramatic falling out with a group of friends from my high school.
Ouch. Those always hurt.
And they did. I think honestly that was worse than the breakup with the boyfriend.
Friend breakups can really hurt more than just your average breakups. I think it's
They,
maybe because you
yeah.
like anticipate, it's either a make it or break it with the relationship. So like
Hmm.
maybe, but with a friendship, like there's this expectation that it'll last, and when it doesn't, it's like, ah, it hits hard.
Yeah, it does. And having a falling out with multiple friends too, I didn't
Yeah.
just lose. And it was the same year as my high school boyfriend. So I kind of
Ouch.
felt like, well, exile, fail,
Yeah.
like throwing you out. And so I wrote some songs about that. And we can get into that more later,
Yeah.
with specifically Miss Hollywood. But I wrote songs about them. And then I went like on a first date with this cute guy that was just really nice. Like it
Yeah.
never went anywhere. But I thought, oh, that would be like nice to fit because maybe some 19-year-old girl that just went through a breakup can listen to this and be like, she went through this dramatic situation and then she had like hope for
Yeah.
a future relationship. And then the last song on that mixtape's Freedom because after you kind of go through stuff like that, it really makes you know who you actually are because
Yeah.
you've had so much introspective thoughts like what did I do wrong in all these situations and who am I.
And how do I
So
improve even in like who do I surround myself with that's healthy even? Yeah.
yeah, exactly, stuff like that. And that affected my musical journey too because I had to look inward and I had to be
Mhm.
honest and tell my truth
Right.
because at the time, which the public, I feel like people that are on the outside
Mhm.
always see a situation for what it is
Yeah.
unless they've been manipulated. At that time, I felt like literally my whole small town hates me.
Hmm.
And so I'm just going to hide in a hole
No.
and go away, which sounds really dramatic, but I am kind of dramatic.
But that's how you felt, and how you feel is valid. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
That's true. And I'm happy that I felt that way because it pushed me more towards Nashville. At the time,
Yeah.
I had one foot in Nashville, one foot in the small town.
Mhm.
And then I kept getting pulled both ways, and it wasn't sustainable,
Right.
like in hindsight. So I'm happy that happened because it pushed me more and it pushed me into my music because I thought, I got to show these people who I am and
Right.
I got to tell my side of the story. And so I just wrote and had 9 songs that I thought this tells the story
Yeah.
and put it out there. And I
That's your
guess
mixtape.
I really, yeah, and I kind of really went off your question there, but to get back to that,
It's fine.
um,
My
after that,
Sorry, I was gonna say my mom put in the
oh, you're
chat
good.
that she never hated you, Maddie, and Eli says hi. I'm gonna say that's what that is, and she's super proud of you.
Oh, thank you
Continue.
guys.
Sorry.
If you're wondering, I can't see the chat, people. So, like,
Right.
if you think I'm just ignoring you, I promise that I'm not. I'm not that much of a stuck up person. I was gonna say another term, but I'm trying to keep my language.
An- Another person put, Maddie, keep chasing your dreams. I'm so proud of you. Also, I'm so excited that this interview introduced me to this epic channel. Wow, thank you so much for joining us, Wayward Son 10. But,
Yes, Christina, she's so sweet. She's one of my friends down here,
well,
and she's so
hey,
sweet and very
welcome.
supportive.
Hey, see?
But
Making healthy friendships.
that's true, and we all need that. I feel like
Yeah.
your early 20s, you kind of have that's a lesson you have to learn.
Yeah.
especially from a small town, you know everybody from practically birth. There's
Right.
not many choices out there for friendships. But
Yeah.
to go back to your question, after I had written all these, I started recording, but then it went into a weird time period where I'm like, I really want to be an artist,
Hmm.
or do I want to be on the business side?
Like have
So I
tug of
put it,
war.
yeah, and I put it down for a while
Hmm.
because some of my professors were like, if you want to be taken seriously in the business, you cannot say that you're an artist or people will think that you have other intentions.
Mm.
Since then, I have learned that it's a bunch of BS because almost half the people that work like at record labels also write their own songs and sing them.
Right.
They
It makes
just
sense.
they love it, and that's why. But so at that time, I'm like, oh, I kept playing, I kept writing here and
Hmm.
there, but I started doing internships
Yeah.
at some pretty cool places. I wanted to dive. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do,
Hmm.
so I diversified my internships, and
That's good.
it was good. I thought it was good. Some people are like, no, you're all over the place, but you just got to do you.
And
Anybody
transferable
that's
skills.
listening. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you will be right for the right job, the right position
Right.
eventually. So, my first internship, I interned in these people's basement. They were a married couple and they did music production out of their basement and voice coaching.
Okay. That's cool.
So, like, it was cool. I kind of learned how to run a business from your home in the music industry,
Hmm.
which at the time I didn't think was cool, but now that I'm doing freelancing stuff, I'm like, okay, that was very valuable.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds like
I
it.
also had the craziest story. It's like the husband, he had eaten dinner with Michael Jackson and Michael Jackson's monkey in a hotel room and tried to
Huh?
pitch Michael Jackson a song. So
Huh?
he was he also fell
It's
asleep in the
crazy.
desert and had a vulture on his chest when he woke up. He was an insane, crazy man. But
Oh my god. And I
the
thought
people
I
you
had
meet
crazy
through life.
stories.
Yeah, and then my second internship, probably my favorite one. Um, it was with Sony Music with their gospel and Christian label, which that's not really my scene for music, but I just
Yeah,
really wanted to intern at a record label,
that's
and
fair.
my supervisor was really freaking cool, and we got along really well. And I got to work on Snoop Dogg's Christian album that came out.
What? That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's like the most random fun
Yeah.
fact that I have because it's like, what? First, people go, Snoop Dogg has a Christian album? I'm like, yes,
I was gonna
he
say,
does.
I didn't even know he had a Christian album.
It's called the Holy Bible. Very, very unique.
To
But
the point. Very, very to the point.
yeah, I learned so much there, and they were very immersive. Like I got to sit in on one-on-one meetings with artists and
Yeah.
talk about like their marketing plan, like where they're at with recording.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see the inner functionings of a record label,
Love that.
which 12-year-old me would have sobbed, been like, you were inside of a record
Me
label.
too. I would sob now.
I would too if I ever went again. And then my last, or not my last, I had another internship with a music publishing company. And for that's when I thought that's what I wanted to do. For people that are
Yeah.
like unfamiliar with what they do, they have songwriters that write songs and then they try to pitch those songs to record labels
Okay.
and
Yeah, that makes sense.
they collect all the royalties for the writers and they pay the writers.
I see, I see. That makes sense.
So that was a really fun internship too because so the music industry is, unless you're a Christian label, there's a lot of like drinking, day drinking,
Yeah.
just like on sets, on all this stuff. Like
Right.
they would have record label people come into the publishing little house
Mm-hmm.
and the writers would play and they'd have like Mexican food and wine and we'd all
Ooh.
drink like at noon and it was just fun because I was
That sounds
21 so
fun.
it's like yes, it was fun and I got to see how that process worked too.
Mm-hmm.
as a writer myself, but I was trying to stay into the business at that point.
Mhm.
In my last internship, there's this famous bar in Nashville, and it's mostly famous for local people. It's called Acme Feed and Seed.
Hmm. I
It's
don't think
like
I've heard
right
of
on
it.
the river. Yeah, it's more of like a local spot, but they have a lot
I
of
have to
live
check it.
music. I love that place still. Internship wise, they took advantage of me a little bit, but
I
I
love that.
I did marketing.
Mm.
Like I helped with their marketing, and
That's
that's
cool.
really what I want to do now is entertainment marketing.
Hmm.
So that like kind of fully I'm like, okay, now I know that's what I want to do.
Right.
Um my other musical journey stuff is I guess I'm trying to like come up with the most interesting.
That's fine. All
One
of it's
thing,
cool.
oh, thank you. I
So
guess
cool.
one really cool thing that happened to me as a songwriter is I worked at this bar, not bar, restaurant that is, it was like 2 blocks off of the main downtown strip.
Okay.
And they're famous in Nashville because they're one of the only places downtown that lets musicians play their own songs.
I didn't.
Because most bars in Nashville, they have like a list, like you can only play these covers. So then people that are there feel included because they know all these songs, like Before He Cheats and Wagon Wheel and all this.
Really? I didn't know that was a
Yeah, I'm
thing.
spilling the tea. I'm spilling the tea
That's fine.
on
I'll sip
downtown
it
Nashville.
up and burn my tongue. Like, it's spicy and hot.
Yeah, a lot of people still go down there and do it because you
Wow.
can make a lot of money on tips and stuff. So if
Right.
that's all they're doing, they do that. But this restaurant, oh, it's called Puckett's. It was featured on like the Travel Channel and stuff, so it's
Nice.
kind of a big deal down here.
Yeah.
But I was a host there one summer. I think it was 2018, and the act did not show up, like the guests, and the people in the restaurant were starting to get a little irritated because they're like, "I'm on vacation, damn it! I want entertainment." And
Sing.
like the whole restaurant just wraps around the stage. Like it's a
Oh.
very big focus. And they were starting to get worried. They're like we can't it's too late to call somebody in. And I was like, well, I write songs and sing. And they're like, what? Why didn't we know this? And I'm like, I don't know, I do. And I was like, I have a capo in my car. And they're like, just grab one of the signed guitars off the wall and get up there and play.
That's a main
So it's
character
like
moment.
I know that's I always joke if I ever have like a movie about my life, this will be in it because
Yeah.
it was very Nashville. And I got up
Yes.
on stage and I'm in like the restaurant t-shirt and old jeans and like nasty tennis shoes because working at restaurants is
Right.
the worst for your shoes.
Yes.
And I'm like, hi everyone. The person that was supposed to play is obviously not here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bear with me because I didn't know I was playing tonight. And I played my songs. And again, a main character moment. I finished and I got a standing ovation, which was insane
Woo!
because I have the whole summer I worked there 6 months, like from May through September. I
Yeah.
never saw that happen the whole time. Um, so I was
Dang, girl.
like,
You
okay,
go,
this is
you.
really cool. And then I made like $250 in tips. And I got to stay on the clock on the restaurant because I
Yes.
was helping them out.
Yes.
And I already thought like, damn, this is such a cool moment. But then I got off stage and like walked to the back and there
Mm-hmm.
was this woman and she looked at me and she said, I have a 16-year-old daughter. And I was like, okay, like, is this just
Neat.
another like way too much information customer thing? And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, she just turned to me and told me that she wants to now move to Nashville because of you. And I was
Aww.
like, and so I went and cried in the bathroom naturally.
I would do that. We have
I
people in
know, I'm
the
like,
chat saying that's amazing. So,
oh,
main
thanks,
character
guys.
moments. We love them. No, that's so
Yes,
cool.
because it's So that's one of my favorite. And I have like another cool thing, but I'm going to talk about that more later
Okay.
when we get into Miss Hollywood because it's
Yeah.
very specific to that.
Okay.
But that's basically my musical journey.
Mhm.
I'm an indie artist. I have the very rare thing where I write my own songs and I do all the instruments when I record and I produce them and I do all the marketing and graphics work and all the merch design. And
You're
I call
kicking
that,
butt.
well, I call that being from a like being from a small town and
Yep.
not being wealthy.
Yep. I do
So
all the
having to,
exact same thing. So I was like, huh?
yeah,
Me
having to
too.
learn everything by myself. But I used to see it as a disadvantage. Now looking back, I'm like, no, this is an advantage because people, I don't know, I can talk the talk audio wise
Right.
and I can walk the walk business wise. So I'm like, no, this is actually a really good thing. And
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
yeah, so I'm just doing that. And I released that mixtape 4 years after I finished writing it because
Well, you had to
life
do
happens.
literally everything for it, too. So, like, that takes a lot of time as well.
That's true. And I really, I don't know. I wanted to wait on that one specifically. I wanted to
Hmm.
wait until hurt feelings weren't hurt anymore to put it out.
I
I
think
didn't want
that's
it
a
to
good
seem like
idea.
an attack.
Yeah. It's just
So,
kind of like
yeah.
venting almost.
Yeah, it is. Because I never, I think at one point there was this rumor in our small town that I was doing it to be vengeful and not because I loved it. But
I
that doesn't make any sense to
when
me.
yeah, that makes no sense, and kind of how we were talking earlier. When things like that happen, I just think it happens out of jealousy and it's fan
Yeah.
behavior. Because they wish they could do what you do. So, just be successful and thrive and happy out of spite, and you'll be fine. That's what I do.
Yep, that's my life mantra. I'm like, oh, okay, what grudge from 10 years ago am I gonna work against today?
Used to fuel me for today.
Yeah.
I swear I've been doing that since high school to keep me going. I used to use that for cross country when we'd be running. And I'd
Oh
be like,
yeah.
oh, God, I'm only 2 miles in. I'm like, yeah, but my dad wouldn't would say I couldn't do it, so I'm gonna run faster. I think that's something I love about our generation is that we push ourselves to succeed just half the time out of spite.
Yeah, honestly. But it's a good motivator
Hmm.
because if you are truly living who you want to be,
Yeah.
people don't like it. And
Yeah.
they're gonna have something to say. And I kind of have accepted at this point because it's been a while that I've been putting myself out there music wise
Right.
that that's part of it.
Yeah.
If you're putting your thoughts and feelings and emotions and stories out to public, people have a right to comment on it and you
Hmm.
don't have a right to really say, oh, they're not allowed to say that or feel that
Right.
way.
Right.
So you just got to go, okay, whatever.
That's I think that's part of what makes art. And I not last my last semester, but my second to last semester, so fall of 2019, I took a creative writing class, and I think that class has been one of the most impactful classes I've ever taken because my professor was amazing, and he was like, "There's three things that you have to do to make it art. You have to make it, you have to sign it, and put it out in the world.
Yep.
And you will face rejection and you will face people that don't like it. But for some people, it's really going to make a difference in their lives and it's really going to impact them. And he was like, in my opinion, that makes it worth it. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Word. um, in the chat, we Eli is also with us. He said, I got a tear in my eye thinking Mr. P, Mr. Puckett. I love that man.
Oh,
He was very impactful on me too.
I know.
Um,
I think on so many, even if you
yeah,
weren't interested in music.
of course, for sure. He fundamentally impacted me. He's one of those people. He was one of my like first like father figures in my life, and he made a really awesome difference for me.
Yeah.
Eli also said making it out of our town is a victory, and I can't agree more. There is good. There is good about our town.
Yes.
There are great people in our town, but I would never want to be stuck there. And my friend Gavin snaps at us speaking the truth. But
It's
and
true. You got to speak your truth.
100%, and I think that's another thing that can make art so impactful and poignant to people and really change people is it's truthful.
Yeah.
You can relate to it. Um, okay, so let's talk about your mixtape and specifically Miss Hollywood. You just had a music video come out literally yesterday for that. Congratulations! I watched it.
Yeah,
It's
thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah. So
Thank you. Sorry, I'm adding some light here.
no,
Okay.
I appreciate that. I was starting to think it was getting a little dark there.
I
um,
know my ring light is I don't even know what's going on, but so
I
okay,
always
let's keep going. I'm sorry, I'm awkward.
no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm awkward all the time. Again, we're doing it live. So
True.
what were big inspirations to that mixtape, The Girl You Used to Know? And specifically for Miss Hollywood, it's your like biggest single off of that. Your music video just came out. What were your biggest inspirations for those songs? Specifically.
Well,
We talked
yes.
about it a little bit, but
Yeah, the telling my truth part was very important. Um
mm-hmm.
because I so for context, a lot of these falling outs, I guess not with my ex-boyfriend because but with my friends was social media based.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to take part in it
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't worth it for one. But for two, I just didn't want to air out my dirty laundry like
Right.
that online.
That makes sense.
I love reading it when people do. I'm like, ooh, the gossip.
Tea.
But I didn't want that. And I'm the type of person, if something happens, I like to pull back and
Mm-hmm.
then take a look at it from like over, like an
Yeah.
overview. But I'm also very emotional. And so if I'm going through something, I like
Uh-huh.
to write it down
Yeah.
to kind
Get it
of
out.
go, what am I even thinking? What am I feeling? And
Right.
songwriting, that mixtape in particular, was a lot of I don't even know what I'm feeling, but I'm just going to start writing
Yeah.
and then we'll see. And,
What
and
comes?
another big inspiration, anybody that knows me knows that, or even about me at all,
Mm-hmm.
I am obsessed with Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Um, it's a little much, I agree, but a
We
lot
all
of
have
times when
that.
I was, we do, and a lot of times when I was younger, I felt like she was like one person I could relate to that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't necessarily find in my social life, which I didn't have much of a social life when I was younger. I was nerdy,
I feel that.
and I just, that's just how it was.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of my friend group when I was younger, it was like, don't show your emotions, um, don't get attached to any love interest. That's stupid. You're in high school, which you can say that as an adult, but or whatever. And they would
It's
say
also
that,
a
like,
part of
don't
life.
do that. Yeah. Or like, you're too much. Don't do
Mm-hmm.
that. But then I would go
It's
home and
toxic.
I'd play Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
And she was also called too much. She was too emotional. Like,
Yeah.
she tried things that people hadn't tried and got
Mm-hmm.
criticized for it, but then all that jazz. And so she has always been a big inspiration,
Yeah.
and she always will be, I think. Another big inspiration, which I think makes sense if you listen to my music,
Mm-hmm.
is John Mellencamp.
Yes. I could hear
I
that.
love John Mellencamp. And I when I wrote, I'm like, I'm not country, but I'm not rock and I'm not pop. What the hell am
A
I?
hybrid.
And yeah, and so I actually had a professor, which I'll get more into this story when I talk about Miss Hollywood.
Hmm.
He said, "Damn, that's the perfect Midwestern rock song." And I thought, "Oh my freaking god, how did I not think of that?" And
A whole new genre specific for the Midwest.
I was like, "How did I not remember Midwestern rock like
Yeah.
Eagles, REM, John Mellencamp?" Like
Yeah.
my
That's
parents,
fair.
especially my dad, listen, and John Mellencamp too.
Hmm.
Why I like him, this whole thing is about being from a small town,
Right.
and that's his branding and like trying really hard. Like one, his story is amazing. How he had an entire room wallpapered in rejection letters from his record label because they told him no so many times he had enough to wallpaper a room. They finally gave him a record deal because they were honestly tired of him coming in.
I mean,
And
you gotta get a no
it's
until you get a yes.
exactly. And I also love, he always says too,
Sorry
right?
if you hear Cole come in. I'm gonna mute.
No, you're good. He also has this whole thing where he says, right for the common person. Don't try to use all these fancy words. Don't
Yeah.
try to make it confusing or a deeper meaning.
Right.
Right? So everybody can understand it and people will relate to it. And I'm like, good idea.
Yeah.
And he also has all these political songs that at face value do not sound political with
Right.
catchy hooks. And I also love that too, and just how he does things. And I like writing upbeat, which you'll see this more in my next album, but
Yeah.
upbeat songs that actually have a sad meaning. Like Jack and
Yeah.
Diane. Everybody's like, I want to be like Jack and Diane. I'm like,
No,
no,
you
you don't.
don't. No, you don't.
They're miserable. um,
They're so
but
upset.
it's fun that,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I really take inspiration from him. And basically, I have so many artists that I love,
Mhm.
and I firmly believe if you are a writer or musician, you take inspiration from every single thing you listen to, whether
Yeah.
you are conscious of it or not.
I think
If you
so.
like it, you take it.
Definitely.
If you hate it, you
Yeah.
push it to the side and you're like, I'm not doing that.
No, thank you.
So yeah, life and Taylor Swift, that's pretty much what
A little
inspires
bit
me.
of John Mellencamp sprinkled in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I feel you with like the happy upbeat sound, but like really sad lyrics. I mean, I literally have a 21 Pilots flag right behind me.
Yeah.
So that's not a signal that I love happy sounding sad songs. um, but also, I think another artist who does that really well, kind of on the same vein, but not like specifically Midwestern rock, is Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen also
Yes.
does that.
Yeah.
Potentially even Billy Joel, if I think about it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I 100%. Um, so that's awesome. I'm just so excited to hear your story. Um,
Thank you. Hold on, everybody. I'm moving to turn on some lights.
you're good.
We're ill prepared when we're live. Okay.
Ah,
I'm
we're
coming
doing
back.
it
My
live.
dog's looking at me like I'm insane.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I come in. I was telling Maddie earlier. I come in before the stream to do a practice stream and make sure everything's working okay. Usually a couple hours before. And what people don't see is Freddie like looking at me like, "What are you doing, weirdo?" Like, so I understand. I guess the next question I had for you, I didn't know if you wanted to go deeper into Miss Hollywood more.
Yes,
Okay.
I will do that.
Okay.
So Miss Hollywood, I I'm even thinking of getting a tattoo in
That
reference to Miss Hollywood, but
that'd be really cool. You should, but I'm a
my
tattoo
parents don't know
junkie.
that yet. But
I'm a tattoo junkie,
Miss
so
Hollywood's one of those. Oh, I love.
Yeah.
tattoos.
That one's cute.
And all of mine have been music based.
Mine
Thanks.
too, for the most part.
All of mine are music based so far. It's I don't know. I joke with my fiance. I'm like, can you tell I like music? It's like,
I think the only one of mine that
but
isn't is this one, and it means to remember to live and has dragons.
oh, that's so cute.
But anywho, sorry. Continue.
So Miss Hollywood to me is always going to be an important song
Yeah.
because it has such a journey, and I don't feel
Mhm.
like that journey's over yet.
Right.
But I remember, so this one is really about the friends I had a falling out with. And,
Mhm.
well, it's kind of strange because it's about me, but it's also about them. So let me explain this a little bit better.
That's fine.
I had this falling out with these friends like around like December of 2016.
Mhm.
And it was dramatic and it was stupid. And I still don't understand exactly what it was even about. But the whole premise was that they said that I changed. And I was confused why that was all such a bad thing
Mhm.
because I think we should change and evolve.
I agree.
And they were like, "You think that you're better than us?" And I'm like, "I promise you, I don't think that. I'm just living my life and trying to better myself."
Just
Like, I'm
living
not
my
even
life.
thinking, like, I'm like, this sounds so narcissistic, but I wanted to be like, I'm not even like thinking about you. I'm just doing things to that towards my own goals.
Right.
Like, I'm proud of
Just
you guys. Like,
grinding.
I will stand by you guys. I'm just trying to do something different that I've always wanted to do.
Right.
And they were like, "You've changed." And we had this big falling out. And then I went home for Christmas break and I felt very alone because like
Yeah.
nobody was around. Because like the people that I was still friends with, they lived up in Indianapolis, so they
Right.
weren't down there. And
No.
like I have like I mean like you and Riley Mayfield and stuff, but
Right.
y'all kind of have another friend group because they're a year younger than me, and
Yeah.
it was just an odd place to be. And I remember coming home and feeling lonely, and then having people message me on social media and say, "I didn't want to tell you this when you guys still seem to be friends, but this is what they've been saying about you
Ugh.
while we were still friends." And I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "I thought you should know," which that's so small town behavior. Like, nobody does that in the city, like,
Yeah,
reaches
nobody
out to you.
cares. Nobody
And
cares.
I was like, damn, like, they were playing me before we were even done. Like, they were already done. Like, so I remember being at my grandparents' house and being like, "I'm alone. They've said all these things about me. Let's pull a Taylor Swift blank space."
Yeah.
And
It's
for
a good
people
song.
that are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I get it. I don't know every reference either. Taylor Swift wrote her, most people probably know, it's a song by Taylor Swift called Blank Space.
It's a good song.
She wrote it as kind of like a ha ha at you. I know you're saying this about me.
Mhm.
Like, she wrote the song in the perspective of the character that the media was portraying her as.
Yep.
And so I said, let's do that. Let's write everything that they've said about me. I'm going to write about myself in a third person sense and hint that it's about me, but never specifically say that it is in the song. Um, so I like started. I'm like, there was this girl. She lived in a small town. She likes to write songs and play guitar. Moved away. And I say to become a star. I don't necessarily think of myself as a star, but it
It
rhymes with
sounds good.
guitar.
It sounds good.
Yeah, and like it's kind of like, okay, she's moving away to pursue whatever. And Miss
Right.
Hollywood is a very like glamorous type of name and
Yeah.
person. And I got the Hollywood because so there's this person in our small town, and pretty much everybody knows him or knows of him, J. Ken Wright,
Do I?
Ollie and Abby Wright's dad.
Okay.
He's
Okay. Okay.
very
I don't
He's
know
very
him, but I know
loud and
them.
yeah, he's tells a bunch of stories,
Mhm.
and I'm actually related to him. Like he's my grandpa's cousin.
Oh, okay, okay.
And every time he'd see me at that point in time, he'd go, "Hey Hollywood, like how are you doing?"
That's
Like to
cute.
just like to joke.
Yeah,
And I thought, "Holy shit, Miss Hollywood."
that's a banger.
So I thought of that and put all these rumors that they had said about me in this song to make this
Yeah.
interesting character, which is more interesting than I actually am. And when I first wrote it, it was like a sassy kind of F you.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, I don't really like that. And even my dad's like, I don't like that song. It makes you seem too narcissistic. And I was like, okay. So I rewrote the chorus and I was like, let's write the real story. Like, I'm
Mhm.
sad. I've been exiled because they say I'm too good, even though I'm not too good. This
Right.
is just who I am and what I'm trying to do. And
Right.
Miss Hollywood does break away, but not because she necessarily wants to. Like,
Mhm.
the last line is, you can, life is as simple as following your dreams, but you got to be willing to let people go to do that.
Yeah. And
And I end it on a minor chord because I like the
yeah.
you don't get a conclusion. It's just like it makes you uncomfortable.
Well, Miss Hollywood's story is also still continuing. Your story is still going. So there really is no conclusion just yet.
That's true too.
So that's another way to
And
interpret it too.
that's true. And at the time, that was my favorite song I'd ever written.
It's a
It's still
really good
up
one.
there. Thank you. My family, that's their favorite song.
I,
Which they knew everything that happened and
I told
everything
you
in real
earlier I
time.
got chills at one point when I was listening to it. It's usually I think it's somewhere towards like the middle or end, but I was like, "You go, Maddie. I have chills."
Well, thank you. And the journey with that song too doesn't end with me finishing writing it.
Right.
I had this music publishing class,
Mm.
and this is where this story, like, this is one reason I love Miss Hollywood so much too. And my professor, for lack of a better term, was a hard ass. But so
Okay.
he tells you like it is. And he was vice president of this huge company called ASCAP for like 20 years. And
I've heard of them.
ASCAP is, yeah, it stands for the American Society of Composers and
Yes.
Publishers.
That makes so much
And so
sense.
what they do is they make sure that songwriters get their money when songs are played in public places, like
Yes.
on the radio, like in
Mhm.
bars, that kind of
Yep.
stuff. So he was vice president of this company for 20 years and he had been a professor for about 10 to 15. He, like, if he didn't like your stuff, he would just tell you. So we had a semester long project where you had to get into groups
Mhm.
and you had to pick one person that was the songwriter and you had to do everything you could to promote this song and you had to like get the copyright, like register
Mhm.
with a performing rights organization, all this so we'd learn. And
Yeah.
at the end of the semester, you had to present it and you had to present the song too. Well, my group, because I had people in my class that had already been signed to record labels, like already
Yeah.
had publishing deals. And then there was me, I'm like, I'll be a songwriter. Haha. And so some groups had like 8 people, my group had 3. But
How did that work?
you got to pick your groups.
Oh, okay.
But I actually liked it because it was 2 of my friends, and
Mhm.
one of them is one of my best friends now.
Mhm.
And I was like, I want to do Miss Hollywood, and we had this a lot of fun doing this project. And at the end of the semester, we were the last group to go, and
Oh,
it,
best for last. Best
it
for last.
and our copy, like our recording of Miss Hollywood, had not. We had recorded it, but it didn't
Yes.
sound good. So I was like, I'm gonna have to perform this live, me and a guitar, in a class of 30 music business students and this hard ass professor. Well, we were the last group, and it wasn't just one day, it was like multiple days because
Uh
like it
huh.
had to be like 20 or 30 minutes long. And
So
he had
scary.
went ham on these people. One group, he said, what did you even do all semester? One
Oh
group,
my
he said,
god.
"Are you sure you want to be a songwriter?" Like he was an asshole. And so
Oh
I
my
was like,
god.
"Oh my god,
I'd be
why did I
terrified.
decide?" I was like, "Why the hell did I decide to do this?" And I'm performing it,
Yeah.
and I perform it, and he goes, "That like he did this with every group." He goes, "Okay, what's one thing you would change about the song?"
Uh-huh.
Some kid raises his hand and goes, "I'd make the chorus a little bit like more like bigger." And he goes, "Wrong." He's like, "You're not changing a damn thing about this song." And I was like, "What?"
Huh?
Like double take. He goes, "This is the perfect Midwestern rock song, and this for you could be a career song." And I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Think Willie Nelson, On the Road Again, Dolly Parton, Jolene, like the song that makes their
Goosebumps.
career." I know, I
Goosebumps.
have a tear recounting it, and I was just like,
That's
"Excuse me?"
crazy.
And he kept humming it the rest of class. And then he sent 2 emails out after class and was like, "Don't forget when that song comes out, everybody needs to stream it." And then the other email he sent, he goes, "I remembered what song it reminds me of." And he said, "Losing My Religion" by REM. And I was like, "My song reminds you of one of REM's biggest songs?"
Yeah.
Like, so after that, I really felt like I'm a freaking songwriter. Like that
Yeah.
was like my moment that I'm like, I'm not insane. This
Mhm.
huge big wig that
Right.
went to Taylor Swift's album release party.
He did? Wow.
He also
Could he get you
worked
into
with
the
the
next
band
one?
Perry. He won't. He's not connected anymore. But I was like, he just told me that he loved my song and that I'm a great writer. And I'm like, he has no reason to lie to me. He's not a part
Right.
of my family. He's not one of my
Right.
friends. And
Right.
I was like, wow, okay, I can write a song. And that's part of the reason I love Miss Hollywood. And
Yeah.
now, one of the reasons, so I decided, I had a publicist reach out to me recently
Mm.
and was like, "I like your stuff. I do freelance publicity. Do you
Mhm.
want to do like a playlisting campaign?" And I'm like,
Ooh.
"Hell yeah, I do." So we've been doing that with Miss Hollywood, and I've
Yeah.
actually gotten a lot more listeners, like a lot more streams. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, with music, the sad fact is, and I'm not saying that I have the best song, if
Right.
you have the best song ever written and no one hears it, it's
Right.
not going to matter.
Literally. Yeah.
So you
True.
need help sometimes, which
Yeah.
I don't like to accept help, but I was
I
like, okay.
I know the feel.
But yeah, I love Miss Hollywood, and
Yeah.
I decided to release that music video for it too because I'm like, why not?
Yeah. And the music video is like really good too. I liked it. And
Thank you.
we were talking earlier about how the method you used was like very similar to like what Lana Del Rey's when you were making
Yeah,
it.
so Lana Del Rey went crazy popular on Tinder. Oh my gosh, Tumblr, not Tinder. On Tumblr because she had not made it big yet.
Mm.
And she had her own songs and
Yeah.
she would use her iPhone and stock video to make music videos and people like fell in love with it. And Casey Musgraves did the same thing early in
Mm.
her career before she had any kind of budget.
Mhm.
And specifically, she did it with Merry Go Round, which is a song about the bad parts of living in a small town.
Hmm.
So that really hits. But
Really, it's
I was
hard home.
like, I know. I was like, I have no budget. The coronavirus is going on. I can't go
Yep.
anywhere cool to film. I'm like, I'm going to set my iPhone up on a tripod in front of my fireplace
Mhm.
and I'm going to lip sync. And then I'm just going to find a bunch of stock videos
Yep.
that are license free. I'm not committing any kind of copyright infringements.
I believe you. I believe
And
you.
I don't want that. That would be
No.
horrible.
Lots of fines.
And
Lots of fines.
yeah, and I just put it together and I'm like, I think this works. It works with this type of song
Mhm.
because it's a song about a third person. So it's kind of like different lenses. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it artistic, but really it was a low budget and stock videos.
I think some of the best art though is when you are in those kind of situations where you never predict to be in a pandemic, but like you have to do it on your own. Like you have a low budget and you have to do it on your own. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think sometimes the best work can come out of those situations. I think the Rex,
Well,
if you know that band, the Rex did a very
yes.
similar thing where they made the whole thing out of cardboard, and it was such a good music video. I believe it's their song F Somebody. It's a very
Okay,
good song
cool.
though. I recommend you go listen to it. But so we kind of talked, with COVID, how it affected your music video. But how do you think it's affected your music process and like your this whole music journey of yours? How do you think like the COVID outbreak has affected that?
I honestly think it's helped it, which
Yeah.
sounds crazy because most people are like, it's totally, but it kept me. So, pre pandemic, I was obsessed with trying to secure a 9 to 5 music
Mm-hmm.
job, like business.
Yeah.
And I just was not getting it. I put all my energy into it. I stopped counting at 500 applications.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, yeah, I did so much, and I was
Right.
driving myself insane with it,
Right.
and I wasn't writing anymore. That was
Yeah.
just, I need to get a job, need to get a job, need to get a job. I mean, like a job I want. I work,
Right.
I work retail
Yeah.
now, and then do freelance stuff and entertainment. But
Mhm.
it helped it because the pandemic came, and
Yeah.
there was no, there were no music jobs open at all,
Yeah.
and so I couldn't apply to jobs that didn't exist.
Of
And
course.
I thought I still want to be in this industry and I still want to work on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me finish recording that mixtape from years ago. Like, I'm going to release it. The worst that can happen is nothing changes.
Yeah.
And one, like,
True.
my family listens to it, but it'd still be fun to have it. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'll just do it and I'll practice because I want to work, besides being an artist, I want to work in
Mhm.
music marketing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Is
my
this
friend
one your
just came in.
roommate?
No, this is my friend,
Oh, that's good.
my audio engineering friend. Hello.
Hi.
Anyway,
Hello.
that's Ace. Ace
Oh,
is
hey,
awesome.
Ace.
So anyway, I want to work in music marketing, and I was
Mhm.
like, I can do my own branding for this album as a practice
Yeah.
for other clients. And I was like, it'll be so much fun.
Right.
And so I was like, let's just do it. And then I got more support initially
Mhm.
than I thought I would. And I was like, cool. And then after that, I had a whole new album idea and I started writing like crazy
That's awesome.
because I couldn't do anything else. And my fiance loves gaming and like I like playing The
Mhm.
Sims,
Yeah,
but
me too.
eventually I get kind of bored of The Sims. So I'm like,
Go
I'm
through
gonna start
binging
writing.
phases.
Yeah. And there was stuff that I couldn't deal with
Mhm.
without writing, like the election
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so I wrote a couple songs about that are more political than my last one. And yeah, I just kept writing. I've already started recording the
That's
next
awesome.
album. So it did help a little bit now. I'm itching to play at venues.
Mhm.
But my Facebook lives are have been fun. And
That's good.
the weird B app that I did.
And the weird what? I'm sorry.
There's this new app called B app,
Okay.
and they reached out to me and wanted me to live stream on it to get more people to use it. And it's a very complicated app, and some people couldn't figure it out. I could barely figure it out.
Oh my.
But it was just fun to have a brand be like, "Can you live stream
Yeah.
your stuff?" I'm like, "Sweet, okay."
You can also always stream on Twitch too if you ever wanted to. We're streaming in the music channel right now. So,
I probably will because it'd be a whole new audience, which would be fun.
yeah, I don't know if it's an app or a software or something, but there's a way that you can stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook all at the same time, like the same stream going to all three outlets. And I think that's what I'm gonna try to do to figure out. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Still looking into that. But definitely look into it.
that's a
Um,
good idea.
yeah. So I guess it would make sense. I had two kind of questions left, but like it makes sense if I flip the order. So for your future works, is there anything like you want to share more about? Is there a release date you have or in mind yet for when you want it to be done?
The
Or
the release date's pretty far off.
yeah,
It'll at least be next winter.
okay,
Um, but I will share some of it because I'm excited, and I probably shouldn't share anything, but I'm
not too
going to.
much.
So right now it is 14 songs with one bonus song.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Um, yes, I like it, and it's going. The whole album's going to be called Resilient,
I love that.
because the whole theme of it is kind of basically my life over the past year. So there's been, like I said, like there's some political songs. There's some songs about. There's one called "Do I Still Believe in Nashville?" That's kind of like a
Ooh,
part two.
that's deep. Also, we have people going off in the chat like new album, and also one. Where can we see the video? So you can see it on Instagram and Facebook, right? On your Instagram and Facebook pages.
Yes, yes, and on YouTube,
Okay.
if you look up Madeleine Kate, yeah, I finally added it to YouTube because I was having some captioning issues on Facebook,
Ooh.
and some of my like one of my best friends from high school, her dad and stepmom are deaf, and they
Oh
like
yeah.
to support me.
Mhm.
And most of my best friend, a lot of her friend list, like half of it is people that are hard of hearing.
Right.
So I wanted that option. If
That
and so I uploaded it on YouTube because Facebook was being mean to me. But
I understand. No,
uh,
I love being inclusive of everyone, so that's really awesome of you to do. So,
yes, so you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
and your Instagram's at Musical Madeline, and your Facebook's at Musical Mad Kate, right?
Yes,
Okay. Note that. Write that down, people in the
nice.
chat. And if you ever see me looking to the side, it's not like me being shady of Maddie or anything. It's I'm usually checking the monitors and stuff to make sure everything's working okay, or I'm looking literally at Maddie. This is the camera, but Maddie's right here. um, oh snap! I'm not sure if you can put links in the chat unless they're like approved by the bots first, because I have a bot that monitors my chat to make sure nothing offensive gets put in the chat, and some I don't want people spamming like links or something. But
Yeah.
definitely you can look up on her Instagram. That's not on you. You're perfect. You're wonderful. um, but yeah, that's not on you. That's just kind of on my bots for not letting it go through. But you can find her music video on her Instagram, Musical Madeline, Facebook at Musical Mad Kate, and her YouTube, which is Madeleine Kate. Yes? Did I get that right?
Yes. Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so for you, Miss Maddie, I have one last question, and then I figured for everybody in the chat, you guys can ask some questions too, um, since we'll have a couple minutes. But if not, I'm sure we'll just chat a little bit more. So, my last question
Yeah.
for you is what tips do you have for beginners or people that want to follow, that dream of becoming a musician like you did, and how did you get over your stage fright? That's a really big thing for a lot of people, and for me included, because um, I can handle crowds, but when it comes to a smaller group of people, which you typically start out with, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to poop my pants right now. Like,
Well, with
So,
this, yes, I understand that. I'm fine with crowds too. It's definitely harder to perform for smaller crowds, but I don't know if this makes everybody feel better. It always makes me feel better. If you're like at a coffee shop or at a restaurant,
hmm.
they don't really care about you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they casually listen, but they're not watching you
Ambiance.
with a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Like they're more like talking to their friend, eating, drinking their coffee on their
Hmm.
phone. And if they like it, hopefully you'll get like 2 or 3 new followers.
Yeah.
Like, which is a big deal if you're a small artist.
Right. Of course.
Then I guess my tips for people that want to do this.
Hmm.
I have a few. So one is just start. Um, Most people won't even do that.
Yeah.
Most people won't even try. So you're
Right.
already a step ahead if you just try.
Right.
Get around, like, watch everything that you can. Like, utilize your free, what's the word I'm looking for? Assets. Like, YouTube stuff about the music industry. Like,
Right.
buy a book called Everything You Need to Know in the Music Business. It goes layman's terms, what every single position is, what you need to do to get your stuff
Hmm.
copywritten, all that. And, just try to get better. Don't look for perfection, look for progress. Because I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are like, I don't really like how this recording sounds.
I
It's
do
like,
it.
just put your stuff out there. Like,
Yeah.
I listen to my mixtape now, and I've even gotten better at recording since I finished it up in September. And
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh, but it's out. And
Hmm.
if you're like me, or you write like me, where it's more about the lyrical content and the story anyway,
Right.
people aren't going to mind as much as you are.
Yeah. You're your own worst critic.
Yeah, so get it out there, play
Hmm.
guitar, write about, whatever. Write about making a sandwich, write about whatever you
Right.
want to. I mean, personally, some people would say write every single day. Um, I don't know if I believe that. I'm more of a writer that if there's something that I need to get off my chest, I start writing.
That's kind of how I am.
Yeah, so just keep going, keep practicing, and learn all you can, and always be open to learning.
Yeah.
If you are, this is one of my favorite Taylor Swift quotes, and it definitely applies to the entertainment business.
Yeah.
If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Always be willing to learn, always try to push. And that's my first piece of advice. My second piece is get used to hearing no and
Yeah.
not letting it bother you.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, whether that's like being an artist or just being in the business side of things.
Yeah.
I've heard it all. I've heard, oh, well, you have the perspective of a fan, so I don't think you're right for this job. And their whole argument was I wasn't born into the industry, so I wasn't
Ah.
right for the job. Um,
I don't think that job
like,
was right for you then. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, okay, goodbye. You're gonna hear it all. I've heard, like, I like to do marketing. I've heard she doesn't have an eye for marketing. Well, that's a lie because people
Yeah.
now pay me to
Right.
do stuff for them. And you're just never going to please everybody, and you're going to hear no a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, I stopped counting at 500 applications. They were all no's. I got a no today from Sony Music for a marketing job that they told me when I was interviewing that I was too qualified for. So stuff just doesn't make sense sometimes.
Yeah. No.
It doesn't make sense, and you have to keep trying and believe that you're being pushed to where you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
And just if people are hating, remember that haters make you famous because they most of the time
True.
talk about you more than people that love you.
True.
And so the people they're talking shit to look up your stuff. to see like, oh, are they really that bad? And then they end up becoming fans of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Sometimes they just go and talk more shit, but oh well, as long as you're getting streams or views or whatever,
Right.
that's good.
Yeah. No, I think that's all good. It's kind of like how I was talking about earlier with my professor, who was talking about rejection and how you're gonna get a lot of no's before you get a yes, but you gotta just keep making art because all you have to do is make it, put your name on it, and put it out there.
Yeah.
So
And you never know what's going to happen day by day. Because
true.
if you are in the music industry or entertainment, it's kind of like a long road to an overnight success. Usually you work for years and years and years with
Yeah.
nothing coming for you, but then all of a sudden everything happens at once. Like you go viral on TikTok, or
Right.
you get signed to a
Literally.
record label out of nowhere, or and things just don't slow down. So you
Yeah.
always kind of got to be on your toes and
For
just
sure.
keep working. Because
Yeah.
artists don't make art for the fame or
Right.
money. They make it because they have to,
Yeah.
is what I believe.
It's part of their purpose.
Yep.
I think that's why I do a lot of the things that I do. It's not necessarily that I want, I don't even know, the millions of followers and clout and money and stuff. It's no, I want a community. I want to help people. I want to create things that I enjoy and hopefully other people enjoy. So,
Yeah. I would like to make, some money so I
yeah,
could quit
money's
my job
great.
at Target, but I I don't know necessarily what I'm looking for. I guess I'm just looking to grow and
Yeah.
just keep creating.
And I think that really tunes into like a universal truth of like we have to grow to progress, like to progress forward. And
Yes.
I think something really important that I've learned and like have to remind myself of still is that, forward is the motion, but even in like science terms and physics, things cannot move forward without friction. So it's like
That's true.
if you're facing friction, you are moving forward. Like you are progressing
Yeah.
and just keep pushing. So that's kind of how I like to think about it. But anywho, for people in the chat, if you have any questions for the wonderful musical brilliant Miss Maddie, wrong way. She's over here. It got switched from earlier. Earlier, I was on the other side, so I would be able to point over here, but if you guys have any question for Maddie, feel free to put them in the chat. In the meantime, I'm sure we'll just continue to chat. But thank you
Yeah.
guys for joining us today, though. I don't know how many. I keep. If you see me look down, it's because I either have notes or I'm just checking how the stream's doing. I
No, you're good.
think we should have like 3 or 4 people with us. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them down. Um, it's really scary to like actually go for your dreams, especially when you have a lot of people rooting against you, you know.
Sorry, my laptop's about to die. So I was just pointing to
Oh,
the light for somebody to help me to turn it
that's
on.
fine. That's fine. I was kind of wondering, but I was like, should I be filling the space?
No, you're good. I'm sorry. I'm ADD and my laptop was dying and I didn't want to get up to like flick it, so I pointed to my friend. I pointed to the light switch, and they are very confused because that light switch does not turn on a light; it just turns on the outlet.
Oh, that makes sense. I in my old apartment, it used to be a lot like that, where it would control. There was no light in the room, but it would control the outlets.
Yep.
I like your guitars in the back. They're very pretty.
Thanks.
I like
This
the silver
one,
one.
oh wait, shoot. This one was my first one that I bought with my own money in 7th grade. I saved up for an electric guitar because I loved
So
Avril
cool.
Lavigne.
I loved her too. I went through a big Avril phase.
Yep.
Um, I like the silver one though. That one's wicked
Thanks.
pretty.
That
That's
one's my favorite.
I was gonna say that's the one that you've used in some of your promotional stuff, right?
Yep.
That's so cool. Well, I don't think I have any questions in the chat right now, but
F in the chat.
F in the chat. But I'm sure I will let you know if I hear of any. Um, but I guess
Okay.
thank you for joining me, Maddie. It's been so awesome working with you and talking with you today and just learning all about your story and everything that goes into your art. And I appreciate you just sharing that with us. It's so cool.
Well, thanks. It's been a lot of fun for me too. I like talking about music in general and my music and talking to an old friend. So it's a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Well, I think this is where I'm going to wrap up the stream. Just a quick note to people who are watching. Um, Wednesday, I will be going live again at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe what I'm thinking about right now is playing World of Warcraft for like the first time ever. I've played it like once before, but like not actually, if that makes sense. So I think that's what we'll be doing on Wednesdays. Mondays is more of our pop culture fun stuff, like today was, and Wednesdays more of our gaming days. So I hope to see you there. Um, oh, you got some messages. My mom said, "Loved seeing you, Maddie." I love you too, mom. By the way. So, and I will go ahead and end the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will catch you on the next one. Thank you again, Maddie.
No problem. Thank you, everyone, for
Thanks.
watching.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.